Welcome to another edition of Jazz Smack Postgame, where the Jazz played the Detroit Pistons in Salt Lake tonight, and Detroit came away with the win. Let's go ahead and talk about it.
Jazz Smack, your source for information and analysis about the Utah Jazz and NBA basketball. Jazz Smack is a community for passionate Utah Jazz NBA fans.
So this was not one of the Jazz most competitive games they've played. Obviously, they still, for the rest of the season, they're going to be focused on youth, and that was again the case tonight. And it really showed tonight. This was one of the games where the Jazz struggled the most of this season with getting assists compared to turnovers, and the young guys committed a ton of turnovers and really struggled with getting assists. But there were still a couple of bright spots to be pointed out with the box score. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and look at that box score in a second. But overall, I mean, the Jazz are in a situation where they can't win games. So some of these games aren't going to be the most pleasing to watch, but really it's to watch the development of the young players. And that was the case tonight, certainly. And Hardy did some experimenting. You know, Isaiah Collier was actually taken off the ball more tonight than he has been recently. And he was placed on the wing with Keontae running kind of the pick and roll in the offense at times, much of the time. And that was certainly a change from what we've seen recently. And the offense was somewhat disjointed as a result of that. I mean, Isaiah Collier had really low assist numbers tonight, which was really shocking. And Kyle Filipowski had really a lack of assists tonight, and that's certainly different than we've seen in recent couple of weeks. So things just were different tonight, and there's going to be more experimenting the rest of this season. Obviously, Hardy is going to not only focus on development, but he's going to experiment himself. And I would assume that that's not going to change through the remainder of these last 21 games.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's going to play these young players. He's going to let them try different things. I noticed that like Filipowski was running some where he was kind of playing point forward or point center, whatever you want to call him, up from the top of the key. And he struggled tonight in doing that. Now, we think he's a great passer. Clearly, Hardy has picked up on he's a great passer, but he's trying different things. And we're going to have these type of games. I honestly think I'm glad we didn't pull our 4 complement of players out there, because even though Detroit has won like 9 of 10, I think 10 of 11 now, and are playing great basketball, and it should be very inspirational for the Jazz how fast you can turn it around in the NBA. But if we put our full team out there, we may have won the game still, because if we put our starters out there, they're good. And so I'm glad we did what we did, even though it was a tough game. Let's face it was a tough game to watch. We had some tough performances, so let's get into that.
All right. So let's take a look at the box score. I thought the best player on the Jazz tonight overall, I thought it was Colin Sexton. I thought he was the biggest difference maker on the court. You can tell that he's really happy to be playing, but he's still not playing big minutes. He only played 20 minutes, and he shot 5 for 12, so he shot under 50%. But he did go 6 of 6 from the free throw line, had 3 assists, 3 steals, and a total of 16 points in 20 minutes. And he was good, and I think that obviously Hardy is bringing him back slowly from injury, and also we can't play Colin Sexton a ton of minutes and try and actually win the game. I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of where we are. So I'm just pleased to see Colin Sexton play again. That's more or less the thing. I mean, he sat out again last game. Now he's back playing 20 minutes. That first game he came back, he played 18 minutes. And I would assume that he's going to get some additional minutes in the near future. But for right now, I'm just happy to see him back on the court.
Well, you're going to have no disagreement with me, just because he's my favorite player. And I've told you this. I actually think he's the best player on the team. Just Hardy underuses him, so he doesn't get the numbers that he should get. So I like seeing Colin play. He probably sits out the next game because that's the game right now that the Jazz are playing. But it's good to see him play. I want to see him keep his 3-point percentage above 40. So I think it'd be great for the year if he does that. So, that's my only worry with Colin is please don't go cold over the last 21 games, because I think it'd be great to see him like at 41% for the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just hope that he gets enough numbers to keep his averages up. I mean, I don't want to see his averages slip, his total points averages too. I mean, he was having a really good year. So if he's going to play, I'd rather see him sit and then play some big minutes, just in terms of keeping his averages up. That's what I'm most concerned with. One of the other guys that I point out, like obviously Kyle, like I said, did not get the assist numbers tonight. He only finished with 1 assist, but he still played 24 minutes, went 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 7 on 3, 7 or 8 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, and then the 4 turnovers. So he still scored 25 points. And obviously for Kyle, 25 points, that's a large number of points. Now, he consumed a lot of possessions tonight. 13 shots, 8 free throws. That's a lot of possessions for Kyle. But still, he also produced the 8 rebounds, and he did score 25 points. So another solid outing for him. It's just the assist numbers that I really like to see weren't there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, for a rookie to come in and score 25 points on good efficiency is hard to do. So, he did struggle on defense. Like Jalen Duran went around him a few times in the last game. And I want to get into Hardy's criticism of the players after the last game. I guess it was on Jazz Plus, his interviews, and Locke talked about it today. But he did struggle on defense. He wasn't moving his feet well enough. I kind of looked at him in the picture, and he's a very thin guy. I mean, he's got to hit the weight room this off season as well. And he shot a 3-pointer from the baseline that was wildly off, off.
Yeah,
but overall, his percentage from 3-pointer, he's like high 30s, and as a rookie, that's fantastic. So, and his free throw percentage is like 60ish. And he was 7 and 8, and his free throw percentage makes no sense, right? He's a good shooter. He's got good form. His free throw percentage should be higher, so it's good to see. So I'm very bullish on Kyle. You're very bullish on Kyle. I know we both are. So it's good to see him get minutes and get and a good box score. But he's got to work on his defense.
Yeah. So the other player that I want to mention is Walker. Walker still played a decent game, all things considered. He didn't have a huge defensive impact tonight, and he didn't get huge minutes either. But overall, I mean, the Jazz had 19 assists and 27 turnovers tonight, and 19 assists on 35 made field goals. That's obviously a really poor ratio. And so it was just things were really disjointed tonight. But Walker went 7 for 9 from the field, 9 rebounds, 1 assist in 27 minutes. So he scored 14 total points. So again, from an offensive standpoint, he's still super efficient, and he rebounded the ball, and I think it was solid for him too. And those are the 2 brightest spots that I think that were in the box score tonight.
Yeah, why do you think that he played Isaiah? I believe that teams are scouting Isaiah. They know he's a great assist guy. Already a great assist guy is a rookie. As you said in the last podcast, something in New Orleans in the last month, he's number 3 in the NBA in assists. And that's not getting massive minutes either. I mean, he's got a skill. So I don't really understand why Hardy played Keontae George, because we see Keontae George over a year trying to be the assist guy. He was put on the bench, and one of the reasons, Locke made this statement today, he's put on the bench for his defense. Maybe that's the case, but then Locke missed the whole fact that he's playing just as many minutes coming off the bench. Yeah. I think the real reason that he put him on the bench is that in the NBA, he's one of the slowest guys to get in the offense for a point guard. And so you're constantly like slow to get into your offense, which means you take bad shots. And that where Isaiah is not that way at all. So I don't really understand. Like, we know Keontae's not a point guard. Why do you think he like flipped it up this game? I don't really understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't understand why he's experimenting. I can understand experimenting with this, or maybe he just wanted to see where Keontae was compared to how he was previously before he was taken off the ball and put on the bench. I don't know what his reasoning was, but obviously it didn't really work out. I mean, it was really ugly. So I can't explain it either. I mean, I sat there through the game and I was going, well, this is just this isn't pleasing to the eye, and this is not what I would have done. I think that Isaiah, I think the ball needs to be in his hands. Like, I think that's where the future is. He's the playmaker. He's the guy that needs to run the offense. Taking the ball out of his hands and putting him in the corner on the wing, Isaiah can't play off the ball. That's not his. He doesn't shoot the ball well enough to play off the ball. If he's in the game, he's got to be the point guard, and the ball needs to be in his hands. Period.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I really like the fact that they're testing out Flip like Sabonis, at the top of the key, playing like, off screens and letting people, I think that's a great role for Flip, particularly how well he shoots the three, where Sabonis can't shoot a three. I mean, Sabonis can't shoot a stinking 15-footer, and that's his issue. But I like that. I just don't understand the Keontae thing. Now, it was interesting. Like, I listened to the Detroit announcers. We both probably listened the same because we listened to the to-go announcers to see what they say. I mean, this comment about Collier, I think I agree with entirely. They say, watch out. If this guy just spends the summer in the gym shooting jump shots, watch out with this guy. Because there was a couple of times that Isaiah came down the court. One time he bowled into, who'd he bowl into? Hardaway. He bowled into Hardaway and got and then it was a blocking foul. Then the next time he just blew past everybody. I mean, his speed down the court is incredible. I mean, he is so fast down the court. Man, when this shot comes together, watch out with this kid. But please, let's play him back at point guard. Let's put Keontae where he should be in off guard, and hopefully becomes more efficient doing that.
Yeah, that's where the team needs to go. Keontae, if he's going to play with the Jazz, he's got to play in the off guard position. I mean, he can play spot minutes at the point guard, but he can't play big minutes at the point guard. That's a losing situation for the team. It just is. All right. Well, let's. Anything else to mention on the box score? Should we go to these? Let's look at the sheet that you sent me after the last game. Draft position.
Let me see one thing. I mean, the 27 turnovers is just terrible. Bryce Sensabaugh. So the thing, Hardy came down on the team and down on the team and their defense. And honestly, that's a message that you and I want to hear over and over again. Critical on defense. It's not all. You win championships for defense. At the same time, I think he really hammered on the team when you had a bunch of young guys that played a decent offensive game. And honestly, I think it was counterproductive in this game. Clearly he's got, Bryce, and Bryce did not play good defense in the last game. He didn't play good defense in this game. But the reality is, it's what you and I have said over and over again, is that you can preach defense, but you've got to treat players fairly. You cannot, take your pets and let them not play defense and then criticize everybody else for not doing it. None of them are playing it right now. And that's something that you should absolutely preach and tell them, stop this. You can't let your pets continue to not play defense and then criticize everybody else, because that, players pick up on that, right? I mean, players pick up on that. And the thing I want to do this week, which I'm going to do, I did it a while ago, where I looked at the advanced statistics, not the crummy advanced defensive statistics, but the actual real advanced statistics. And Keontae was the worst defensive player in the NBA. Number worst defensive player in the NBA. I haven't looked at it for a while, so I don't know. But I want to look at our teams under multiple advanced statistics, and I'll do that this week because I'm really curious. Like, where I don't know. Maybe Bryce does prove out to be the worst defensive player on the team. I don't know. But I think that we should kind of look at that so we know. Because, don't criticize, and if it doesn't turn out this way, don't criticize the guy just because you want to criticize somebody. Like, criticize the people that are actually the worst at doing it. But anyhow, that's my diatribe for the day. That really annoyed me when I heard Hardy's criticism when you're not criticizing the guy that are your pet players. But so do you want to go on to the draft?
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the draft history. So this is in reference to the last podcast where the New Orleans announcers were criticizing the Jazz for tanking, and exactly where the Jazz have actually made picks over the years, and that the Jazz have not been the team that has tanked like a bunch of other teams have obviously tanked multiple times, like Washington and Cleveland and San Antonio. Obviously, there's some huge examples there with Duncan and Wemby. But so let's look at this. Of the top picks that the Jazz have had, look at where the positions have fallen. So let's just start at the top, right here at Cody Williams was at 10, and then Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, those were late round, and then the Taylor Hendricks pick was a 9. But then you go look through this: low, 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 and we're continuing down: low pick, low pick, low pick, low pick, and then we get to 2016. We have a 12. Then keep going down, and that 12 was Taurean Prince. So if we just continue scrolling down, then we have another 12, which was Trey Lyles in 2015. And then we have Dante Exum in 2014 at 5. In 2011, we had Cantor at the number 3. And we also had Alec Burks at 12. And then we have Gordon Hayward in 2010 at 9. And then Darren Williams back in 2005 at number 3. But that's essentially, if we go past Darren Williams, the picks are just not there. They just simply aren't there for high picks. There are no high picks. And it's just scrolling through year after year, down in the 90s, there are no high picks. I mean, Luther Wright at 18. Eric Lechner at 17. I mean, you can just go through history, and the criticism that the Jazz are tanking this year, yes, the Jazz are tanking, but the Jazz have not tanked. The Jazz have really low draft picks. I mean, if we were to compare the draft number that the Jazz have had year in and year out compared to every other team in the league, the Jazz are going to be toward the bottom of that for sure, just because we have not had top picks. We've never had the number 1. We haven't had the number 2. We've had a couple of number 3s, but those picks that we've selected, I mean, those are few and far between.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I was trying to get, so we have Daryl Griffith at number 2 pick down further, and we have Dominique Wilkins at number 3. And remember Dominique Wilkins, if you do remember Dominique Wilkins, he refused to play. So we traded him for John Drew, who had a cocaine problem. I mean, it was a disaster. So, but during the Miller years, they refused to tank. Now, honest, for the integrity of the game, that's actually what you should do. The problem is integrity of the game has meant we've never had the number 1 draft pick and we never have a high draft pick, while all the other teams without integrity, namely San Antonio, Washington, all these others have had high draft picks, and we never had. We've never had the number 1 draft pick. Now, there's 4 other teams, I believe. Atlanta was one of those teams. They did get the number 1 draft pick this last season and went up from number 9 to number 1. Congratulations to them. There are Oklahoma City is one that's never had it. There's a few others that haven't had the number 1 draft pick either. But we have not. like what we're doing right now is what the NBA doesn't tell you, but what you should do to advance your team. So we're doing what's right. But honestly, we haven't traded away all of our players. That's the thing, is that we've kept our players. We haven't traded them all away. If we were truly tanking, we would have dumped all those guys, like you said, like New Orleans did with Ingram. Like honestly, they dumped him for a bag of chips and a 2026 pick and a 2028 pick. That's what they traded him for. They no help this year. I mean, they got Olynyk. He's not a bad player, but certainly not going to help you like win a lot of games. So, what the Jazz are doing this year is what you and I think they should do. It's not what the NBA should be about, but the reality is, our integrity is not going to win us a championship. Let's do what the other teams without integrity are doing, so we hopefully can get a number one draft pick, and hopefully this year get a number one draft pick.
Yeah, the criticism of the team for tanking. I mean, the system stinks. I hate it. No team should obviously try and lose games, but that's the way the NBA is structured. So that's what the Jazz have to. That's the system the Jazz have to play within, and to maximize value, they got to tank. End of story.
Yeah. So Indiana had the number one pick. Miami hasn't had the number one pick. Utah hasn't had the. Denver surprise also hasn't the number one pick. I also don't see a team that's tanked, and it's hurt them. They didn't win a championship because they got Jokic in the second round. And Memphis didn't have the number one pick. So I think those are the teams that haven't had a number one pick. Memphis is a new franchise. So is Miami Heat, relatively new franchise. The Jazz are the ones that have been around forever and have never had it. In Indiana, have never had it, and it's time we do get it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
Darryl Griffith was a good player. We got the number 2 draft pick. I don't remember the circumstances at that time, if they tanked or didn't, right? I was too young to know. But I know in the Miller era and in the modern era, they have not tanked at all, and it's really, really hurt the franchise and the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just on the last point of this. When Jerry Sloan was coach, he was obviously not going to tank. I mean, he he would have considered that morally reprehensible, and he would never do it. So I know that was never going to happen in all those years that he was coach. He would have quit. I guarantee it. But
okay. Yeah, I morally reprehensible and never won a championship.
yeah,
Okay, I get it too. I completely get it. I hate it too, but never won a championship. So it's time we win a championship. And the way to do that is increase your lottery odds and get more shots on goal and get one of these top 10 players. Enough said on that. But I mean, it's really instructive to look at these numbers because, man, we drafted poorly. I mean, we drafted late. In our high picks, unfortunately, we struck out with Exum and Cantor. I mean, man, what terrible picks. But
yeah,
we have a better guy picking now, so hopefully we won't do that again.
yeah. Those picks obviously were a disaster. I mean, Cantor hasn't been in the league for 2 years, and Exum is obviously barely playing in the league, and he was out of the league. He was playing in Australia. So let's look at where we currently sit. I mean, the Jazz right now are third in the race to the bottom. So we have 15 wins. Charlotte has 14 wins, and Washington has 11 wins. And then New Orleans, thankfully the Jazz lost that game to them. They have 17 wins. And then Toronto at 19 wins, Brooklyn at 21 wins, and Philadelphia at 21 wins. So the Jazz are in good shape right now. They just need to stick with it. I mean, they have a two-game lead on New Orleans for one of those worst 3 positions, which is where we need to be. And so right now, things are sitting okay. This is okay. And this long homestand for the Jazz is wrapping up. So that means they can go back out on the road where it's obviously going to be more difficult to win games. And everything is sitting good. I mean, as long as they continue, we're doing what they're doing, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, we do have Washington and Charlotte at home in the last 21 games. So those are real dangerous because, honestly, how do we lose to Washington at home? We don't. Actually, I think it's at home. Maybe that's on the road. Actually, I think it's on the road. I think I'm wrong about it. I think it's on the road. So maybe we actually can lose that game. But boy, we could game one on Charlotte if we lose them at the home. I don't think we're losing to Charlotte at home. I'm sorry. I just don't think that happens. I think we could put out Hardy and the rest of the coaching staff and the guy that does the stats, the geeky guy in the second row. I think we could put those guys out and beat the Charlotte Hornets. But let's watch this closely. I mean, the nice thing is New Orleans is 2 back from us now, right? We have a gap on them. No way that we're going to catch Toronto, so we're going to be below them. I mean, it's really kind of the last 4 teams that we're going to be in there. But let's make sure we're in slot 2 or 3.
Yeah, yep. So we're on a course to do that. Just got to stick with it, regardless of. I mean, if the Jazz have to sit everybody and just play Jaden and whoever else, just do that. It doesn't even matter. Anyway, so I think we'll call it quits for the night, and we will talk to everybody after the next game, or if not sooner. And anything else to add before we sign off for the night?
Nope. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, everybody have a good night. Please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're watching us on X, please follow us there. So we will talk to everybody later. Good night, everybody.